right now we're in the holiday season, so we're just between Thanksgiving and the Christmas time, New Year's holidays, or Kwanzaa holidays, or Hanukkah holidays. And many people come to me during this time because they're going to be going home and spending time with family. They say, oh, I just dread this. What can I do? How can I continue my practice? When I'm with my family, it's the most challenging time for me, or situation for me. So I'll give you some of my recommendations. First is do not talk politics. Second is do not talk politics. And third is do not talk politics. So if somebody launches into politics, either wander away or say, that's interesting, and just listen. The Buddha actually said, don't talk politics if you want to maintain some equanimity in your state of mind. Then second, don't try to educate others. Don't try to preach to others. Don't try to educate them about climate change, for example. Overall, I would say use it as a time to educate yourself. So practice deep listening. We call this deep listening or absorptive listening, where you just sit with your mind open and quiet and just take in what the other person is saying and watch their face, watch their eyes, watch their hands, but not in a cold, detached way, like zombie looking and listening, but in a warm way. This is a skill that's probably the most important skill for therapists. So long-term, experienced, well-respected therapists will tell you that their most important skill is listening. It's just open listening. People like to talk about themselves. And so once you get them talking, then your job is over, except for listening and being attentive and showing that you're listening. You don't have to do like this, but you can, make little head movements or go, So how to get people talking? That's the next part. Be curious. So be a good listener and be curious. What do I mean by curious? Ask people about their lives. A very simple question to start with is there anything new in your life? And then just listen. Or you can be curious about their past. So, you have to adjust this according to the person and the situation. But I did this with my grandmother and my father and my mother because I realized that once they died, all of that history is gone. It's completely gone. And then you start thinking, I wish I'd asked my mom about this or my dad about this, and you can't. So I actually videotaped my parents and asked them questions about their life. And they were very cute. They got dressed in their best and came and sat on the couch. And they were very proper for about the first 2 questions. And then they relaxed and it was more warm and open. You can pick any subject. For example, you could pick school and ask them about how old were they when they started school and how did they get to school? Did they have to walk or did they take a bus or, did their parents drive them? What was their favorite subject in school? What gave them difficulty in school? Were they ever bullied? Were they involved in music at school? What extracurricular activities did they have? What did they eat for lunch? For example, my dad was one of 5, and they lived initially in a rural area, and my grandmother baked all the bread for the family, and so the children carried a lunch bucket. So you might have heard the expression lunch bucket. It was literally a bucket. It was a metal bucket with a lid on it. And she would put in 2 pieces of bread with butter and either some cheese or some ham. And that was and sometimes some fried chicken. That was their lunch. So it was a cold lunch in a bucket. You just find out all kinds of fascinating things. And with my grandmother, I interviewed her about what her days were like when she was raising 5 children who were all born in rapid succession. So it turned out she had days for certain chores. So Monday, let's say, was wash day. And she had to wash, in a tub with a scrub board. And then rinse in that tub and then hang everything out. And later, there was this huge improvement of a plug-in electric wringer washer. But still, it was a lot of work. And then you had to iron things, too, because there were no synthetic fibers at the time. And then Tuesday, I think, was her bread baking day. So she would bake bread for the entire week on Tuesday. Then there was another day that was house cleaning day, and that involved taking all the rugs out, little carpets out, and hanging them on the clothesline and beating them with this wire beater. And the kids would help her, of course. But it was just fascinating to see what her life was like. Of course, I was cutting firewood because they had a wood stove, so she baked in a wood stove and cooked on a wood stove. It was really interesting. I also discovered, talking to my mother, this was when she was in her 70s, she was just telling me, in response to questions I was asking, she said, "Oh, that was when I would smoke." I said, "Smoke?" My mother never smoked. She said, "Oh yeah, once a year I would ask your father permission to smoke." My father, who was a gentle person and didn't need to be asked permission. I said, "Why did you smoke?" She said, well, she was an artist. She said, "Well, I just loved to see the patterns in the smoke as it rose." So once a year she smoked one cigarette so she could see the artistry of smoke rising. I discovered a lot of interesting things about my family just by asking questions, and also about my husband's family. You know, people are a little awkward at first, and some people are shy, but if you can approach it in a gentle, curious way, and you're genuinely curious, then people open up, and it's very interesting. So I encourage you, there are certain topics not to talk about. Be a good listener and be curious, and see what you can learn.